Good morning, everyone. It's Ann at Martin House Flowers. Welcome back to my channel. It's been a few days since I filmed my last video. It was a very busy weekend. I imagine that we were all busy with Father's Day, and also we had a graduation party here at the house for my oldest stepdaughter who graduated high school. And we had about, I guess, 10 to 15 of her friends here, and it was 2 days of cooking and cleaning the house thoroughly, even though it was an outdoor party. But in any case, she had a lot of fun. We had fun. We had our neighbors come visit. And my good news to announce was that I sold my first floral bouquet yesterday. In a previous video, we talked about that I was planning to sell some of my cut flowers at my local garden market in Sycamore. And Barb and I filmed at her shop back in January. I think I did a plant tour, house plant tour. But anyway, we had just loosely talked about bringing some of my cut flowers there on a seasonal basis. So yesterday, my snapdragons for the past week have just been bursting with blooms, and I had some nice bouquets for the party here, and I just put together an arrangement in a mason jar and brought my business cards over to Barb's yesterday with my mother-in-law who's visiting from California for a few weeks. So I just brought them over as a sample and really wanted to give them to her. And then she called me late yesterday afternoon saying that it had sold. So I hadn't even, priced it properly and so forth. So it was probably lower priced than I had expected. I didn't even but it was a sample, but it was probably too full. I didn't even get a chance, honestly, to photograph it because I was just rushing to get something to her before lunchtime yesterday. So I'm going to work today on getting her another one. She wants me to just bring a bouquet, one bouquet at a time. She doesn't have refrigeration. She doesn't want my flowers to sit there and spoil. And I don't have a ton of inventory, as you know, based on just having 6 raised beds. So I thought I'd just take you along as I walk the cut flower garden today. Maybe show you how I put together my bouquets. I'm going to try to replicate somewhat what I did yesterday. So let's walk over to the cut flower garden and I'll show you some of my hydrangeas that are about to bloom here. These are bloomstruck, and I have 3 of them. The one in the middle is a younger one because it was replaced a couple of years ago. The delphiniums we planted together. The one that's blooming is the original one. I'm going to turn the camera around so you can see it properly. But I just wanted to just do a brief walk and show you what's blooming in the middle of June. So there's a better look of bloomstruck. And I'll show you around the corner that my endless summer in full bloom. So there's a delphinium that's about 3 years old, and I had 3 here clustered together, and 2 did not overwinter, sadly. So I planted these 2 that are obviously not looking very well. Need to come in here and deadhead this properly. And there's some asters, some daylilies, and look at my hydrangea room. That's actually the only morning shade here. This is Little Lime that will probably bloom in July. You can see the start. And another wonderful thing was that my New Dawn Arbor was in full bloom for the party, and we had these petals lining the pathway. It was so beautiful. So these are almost finished. I'm sorry about the noise. There's a lot of construction going on. Okay, we're here. Let's see some of these gorgeous blooms. I did a little short on New Dawn, and honestly the best day when the blooms were the freshest, you can see some of them are going over. The best day was the day of the party, but I was so busy indoors trying to get the food prepared. There's a second bloom of Arctic Blue. And look at Summer Romance. We just planted this together, and they're tiny little blooms right now. So I need to do another deadheading. Soon Cat's Pajamas will be deadheaded. When they go brown like this, I deadhead them. And there is Perfuma Madame Anisette. She's a little disappointing because she gets very brown around the edges. There's a second flush of Olivia Rose. This is White Diamond. There's a beautiful Olivia Rose. And this is the first set of blooms of Emily Bronte. Also a little bit disappointing. I think my intense sun, I don't know, the heat, a lot of my pale colored creamy white flowers, roses, get these brown edges. Don't seem to catch them in time. Queen of Sweden, look how peach she is. She really took on in her second year here a peach hue in the beginning. Hope you caught some of my other, but look at, I'd love to get another one of these. This is Princess Alexandra of Kent. And Barb has a couple David Austin roses. I'm going to go over today to bring her bouquet, and she does have Gabriel Oak in her store on the grounds, and I think I originally thought I'd get one to plant here in this space. I don't know if I have room. You know, these Sweet Romance, I could possibly put one right here where I had lost one. I cannot keep up with these weeds that basically on a daily basis. These are debris of the little grape hyacinths. So there is New Dawn from the base. She starts down here on the right, and she's climbing beautifully up the arch. And look at, I just in time for the party cut back some of the tulips, and my zinnias that we planted. I think I did them on my own, but I did little clusters of the same variety. And look, we've got our first zinnia bloom. These are the weeds that are only growing in this bed on a daily basis. I don't know if that's considered a taproot, but they're pretty deep and annoying. Look at all the petals of New Dawn. So here's another grouping. I think these are going to be the purple. These are probably Bennery's Giants. These are Quickfire Fab hydrangeas that are supposed to be my first panicle hydrangeas to bloom. And sure enough, you're seeing some buds there. Got them. I'm weeding as we're walking through. I'm sorry. I just can't help it. Do you guys do the same? Another Quickfire Fab. Here's a cluster of, I thought I saw a tag. Here we go. This is going to be Bennery's Giant Pink. I know I did a bunch of Bennery's Giants over here. And this is the last one of Quickfire Fab. I have 4. These were 3 or 4 gallon hydrangeas that we planted 2 years ago in the fall. And I did order these or get them. Yes, I did order them from Barb at Sycamore Garden Market. There is my cluster of, I did have lupins and they were all eaten in the center. Those are chamomile. And then these ones are looking a little bit pale. These are Queenie Red Lime. They're going to be pretty. And these are the Giant Purple. Looks like I've only got 4 there. So these are Quickfire hydrangeas that are lower. Look like they're suffering a little bit. Maybe they need water. when you have yellow leaves, it's either too much water or a shortage of water. It's sort of a fine balance, but it's been so warm. We've been hoping for rain and we haven't gotten any, so I think these need some water. Can't seem to find, this is this vine. It's just horrible. That literally comes in here and chokes my plants. So if you see the little debris, little powdery stuff, this is the liquid fence that when I first planted my zinnias, I sprinkled. I went through an entire, I don't know if it's a 3-gallon container, and I sprinkled them, and it seemed to help because Jess over at her garden there, and I think she's in Michigan, she was sprinkling them on her zinnias. She has a lot of rabbit pressure as we do. And look at our pear tree here. We finally took the a week before the party, but a week ago, 10 days ago, we took it off. And this is a cherry tree. Look at the cherries. That has been showing a lot of damage again, insect damage. We cover these because in May, because we get a really bad resurgence, I guess I would call it, of June bugs in May, and they've been a problem for us since we started growing fruit trees, and these are on their 3rd year. But look at Happy Jack Clematis. Look how happy he is, Happy Jack. So full. I don't know if he'll get much taller, but he is so incredibly full. Looks like he's dropping some of his leaves. And my sweet peas over here are growing nicely. My bare root Harlow Carr showing a little bit of stress on the left canes, but there's a bloom there. The first year you really want it to just develop its roots. So I think I'm going to come in here and give it a little prune. But look at those beautiful, it just so happens are my lavender blue sweet peas to go next to the Happy Jack. How planned is that? And this is a verbena, no, a salvia, a perennial salvia, and I thought it would be blue, but it's white. And coming across here, more of these pale lavender sweet peas. I'm so thrilled. And Eustacia Vi, just planted bare root a month ago, covered in this fence here of chicken wire. So let's take a walk. Here are my beautiful surprise. These are such a surprise for me, and I threw one of these as a feature flower in my bouquet yesterday, and I picked one yesterday that was just at this stage, and it'll just open up in the bouquet, in the vase. But aren't these gorgeous? These are black swan poppies, and I think they're just so incredible, and I believe they grew in my winter sowing jugs. And then here are my Papa Vert poppies that are so delicate, and I think I can use them. I might cut some. And then, of course, I use some bachelor's buttons, which are great, whimsical, kind of colorful filler flower. So this is my filler flower bed, and I'm trying to call this one my perennial filler flower bed because bachelor's buttons did winter over for me, and I also put some in from winter sowing jugs, and all these poppies were winter sowing, and they should perennialize. My yarrow here on the far left will probably bloom later this summer into the fall, and they will perennialize. Chamomile is probably more of the, I think I just filled that in there. Also very pretty. I can use that as a filler in a smaller container. And of course, Dusty Miller, I did a row of those. And crossing over to my other filler flower bed, I don't know if that pink one is an aster, but these are more bachelor's buttons over here. I had 2 or 3 rows, but they got eaten by the bunnies before I was able to get this fencing up. And of course, there's my gorgeous, my red amaranth, thank you. And these here are my larkspur that we direct sowed together back in April. So they're going to bloom. Look at them. I can't wait. And that should be a perennial. The hope here is that this will all be perennial. And these here are feverfew, I think. And here's some chamomile. And we planted these guys in my egg cartons. My other filler, my third filler flower bed. I have some nasturtium. I did include some cosmos in my arrangement, so that's exciting. This is the perfect time to cut your cosmo for an arrangement. You don't want to cut them when they're fully open. You'll see I did cut one, and I'll remove it and use the side blooms. Like these won't last very long because they're already open. And then I had some salvia. I cut some salvia last night for this arrangement, so we'll see. And this is exactly where my salvia was last year. It's funny, I planted them here. And then, of course, I planted two different varieties of these fuzzy wuzzy flowers. I'll drop the name, or it'll come to me. And then more nasturtiums. Look at that. Let's see. Salvia, Swan Lake over here, I think. And here are my prized snapdragons that are just blooming profusely. I have probably made 5 to 6 bouquets, and they are lasting in the vase for about a week. So I think they're a great investment to, you know, to purchase an arrangement with specialty cut flower snapdragons. These are not the garden variety that you get at the nursery. You cannot get these at a local florist or a nursery because the ones that you see are very short for the bedding plants. And there's some sweet peas back here that are growing, which is so wonderful. You know, late June, mid to late June, I'm so pleased to see sweet peas. And then there's Claire Austin. She's doing a little better. This bed, I actually got that roll of chicken wire over there to encircle this bed, or just fence out this bed here and this one so that there's more room for these roses. And then my sunflowers were planted here, and if you followed one of my last videos, I planted probably 2 trays of sunflower seedlings that were 6 inches tall, and all of the seedlings were eaten. There's no sign of them. They ate them to the ground. I think there's 2 little baby seedlings that were left alone, and they're coming up a little bit, but not to fret because I have 4 trays in the greenhouse that are ready. So I just wanted to give you a quick look at that, and let's go inside. I could even cut more, but I don't need to right now. I did mulch this back bed. This is my problem bed. I think we need to do something here. This is a problem bed because my baptisia that was blooming for a day got decimated again from the bunnies. So I mulched this just the day before the party, and there's a few lupins that survived, but I had planted, gosh, probably a dozen seedlings here, and that's what the bunnies left. I did come in and prune. This is bloomerang lilac. There's a couple, so I call this my problem bed because this is a rising sun red bud. And in the spring, it looks always like it's struggling. You can see some of the leaves here are looking a little burned. But then by June, July, it seems to recover, and they start out with this golden color, but then they look a little burned, and then they usually fill out and get a little larger. It's not at all as attractive as my Eastern red bud at the front that I've shown many times as my intro, with the beautiful pink purple flowers that red buds are famous for. So that's a little bit surprising and disappointing. But this tree was planted, and we chose it as our replacement to our gorgeous pagoda dogwood that only lived 1 season, flowered but then died because it got too hot here. So I don't know if you can tell, but I did remulch this. It's a little better. There's the other, oh, this is the forsythia that even the bunnies, you know, cut one of the branches and left it. I already cut it back a little bit. There were some drooping branches. But here's another bloom, a second bloom of bloomerang. So the buds the spent buds were more in the center and they were shorter. And now I've got these new shoots that will bloom the second round of bloomerang. So that's about it. Look at Boscabelle. First bloom. And I want to release her, but I'm so worried that the bunnies are going to eat this rose. It's still so delicate. I think she's not too restrained in there, so I'm okay with that. This is the one that the bunny eats to the ground every year, but it's growing beyond the cloche. So I'm afraid to pull that out now, but these blooms are not that exciting. They open up so quickly. So I do think about Gabriel Oak. There's an iris that hasn't bloomed after the first year, and it's so big. I think it needs to be split. Let me know if you guys have had issues with your irises. I think it's too late for it to bloom now. There's Bobo hydrangeas ready to bloom. They remain really dwarf, and these are their fourth year versus Little Lime that were planted at the same time. I always show this comparison. There's a difference between a Little Lime and a Bobo on each side of the air conditioner. And my Princess Spireas. Look at the nasturtiums and my Bellissima ruffled petunias that are all from seed. Thought orange and purple would be a nice combination. You're not supposed to have to deadhead these, but once in a while, you know, I just pull them off. But look at that. And then I have a darker nasturtium over here. Who knows what that'll bloom. But look at the size of this. Let me just show you next to my hand. So it looks like some of the Princess Spireas are already finishing. You see how they go golden there? And there is a little salvia that I had in a container. This is Scepterdile. We have a spent bloom already in the center, but the rest will open. Last year, this climbed up here, and this is Eden. Very disappointing Eden that everyone talks about as a famous climbing rose. Not doing great for me, considering it was planted at the same time as New Dawn. So Gabriel Oak is not a climber. Honestly, I am surprised that I am saying this. I may consider replacing this Eden rose because it's so disappointing after 3 years. And this is the salvia we planted together, and it's called Big Sky, I think. It's so beautiful and huge. And there is the very popular Lady of Shalott ready to bloom, and she's more of a climber. There's one of our dahlias we planted together. I did cut back finally the stems of my daffodils. This is Charles Darwin. Here's a good example of a new bloom. Look how gorgeous that is. And this will double in size. So it's looking better this year. Last year, it just, in its second year, it was just crawling too close to the ground. And Tchaikovsky, look at that. Eaten, or it, you know, it had winter dieback right to the ground, and I just cut it right back and it recovered. So pleased. You can see some of my dahlias are covered, some are not. There was a nest right there, that lavender, and I think it's gone. No more bunnies in there. But here's the one I covered. Oh, there's the one I covered because it was so close, but it seems okay. Look at that. My Veronica are blooming. A little bit of shade here. We have a bloom. And I can't remember if I pinched this or not, but this is, and this was pre-sprouted April 17th. Dahlia Stoltz van Berlin. Stoltz van Berlin, and it's a ball dahlia, which will be probably a small bloom. And I need to prune these back. These were Nepeta we planted together. They're ready to be pruned, probably because they get sun, even though this gorgeous, is this a river birch, is giving it some shade. It's really gotten huge. I've pruned it back, cut it back a little bit. I'm loving standing here. But let's take a look behind me here at Earth Angel. Earth Angel was very white this year, and then inside a very soft pink. So I need to come in here. It's only been a week since I deadheaded, but you need to deadhead regularly to keep your blooms continuous, ideally with snippers. But she is much healthier this year, this one over here. I haven't had to spray her. She's looking nice and healthy. No aphids, even though I saw aphids in my kitchen garden. These are looking pretty good so far. Who knows, July might bring aphids. And the matching, and there's some of the lime zinnias. This is the other matching Von Stoltz and the other matching Earth Angel. This dahlia was not touched, nor was this one, but this one was, and it's making a comeback because it was, all the leaves were chewed. I then took a cloche, so it's making a comeback. It's recovering. And this lavender that did so well last year, I cut a bunch. Sorry about my shadow. It's only half of it is blooming, the other half is dead. Need to deal with that. I did this with my containers. So I did some Dichondra Silver Falls. I left some of my spring violas in here, and I planted some ageratum, was the name of those purple fuzzies I couldn't think of. There's some ageratum coming up in here, and I think I might have put some gomphrena. But look what I put for the center. My spent allium blooms. They're still green, so I cut them. I think these came from around the mailbox possibly, and I just thought they were so whimsical and gave my containers height. What do you think? Because I had pussy willow branches before. There's the container we planted together with Blew My Mind Morning Glories, Dwarf Morning Glories, Sweet Potato Vine, and of course the Super Bells, some petunias, some marigold from seed we planted in there. Oh, there's some ageratum blooming. I wanted these to kind of give it some height and a focal with the, with some of these. Oh, it looks like it's getting uprooted. Need to give it more soil. And then some Super Bells and marigold here. This is the vinca that I'm wondering about there, struggling. And there's vinca in each of them. And here's this one here with the ageratum. There's a gomphrena in white viola. So here, this one has also 4. And my path of geraniums and lavender. And look at my prized favorite rose, Kiss Me Kate. She was also in full bloom in time for the weekend and Father's Day and the party. Look at her. This is probably the nicest one. Do you call that like a cabbage rose or a peony rose? The clusters, the multi-cupping is just so beautiful. I'm trying not to step on my gomphrena. I did a couple shorts on her because, you know, the first rose tour I did about a week ago, she just had a couple of clusters open, lots of buds, and then she opened. So I hope you caught my last short. I did do 2 short videos on Kiss Me Kate just to capture her, and now she's spent on some buds. I need to come in here and deadhead those and let the side blooms flourish. So she's absolutely gorgeous. I need to cut back this cane. This brown one in front, obviously dead. And there's a short cluster here. A little bit of bug damage, but yeah, a little bit of bug damage, but nevertheless, she's pushing through. And then there's that container that's filling out nicely. My irises are done, I think. My peonies are done. Gorgeous salvia here that I planted in one of these urns 2 years ago. And I replanted. Look at the size of it. It's a salvia that just a common perennial salvia. There's some lupin that didn't get eaten. But my Munstead lavender from Barb's is starting to, these replace Sweet Romance, and they're starting to bloom. And I want to finally get an entire row of the same lavender, because you know, some I'll get 3 that are doing beautifully and then 2 that die. And I like right now I have 2 replacements of Munstead right in the center there. The ones that right there, those are Munstead, and then there's the one that's suffering over there. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So I'm thinking I'm going to ask Barb to get me 1, 2, 3 replacements of Munstead so that I can finally get a row here of Munstead. I was going to wait to see if they overwintered, those 2, but I think it's going to be my last attempt of trying to get my hedge of lavender here. They do so well, but then sometimes you have a really terrible winter like we did and you lose so many. There's some more ageratum seedlings I planted. I didn't think we would do a full tour. Look at my beautiful mountain boxwoods there. There's the other container doing well. Some lamium, some more of the ageratum. Bali hibiscus is going to bloom soon. My hostas are doing well. Those pulmonarias were moved out early spring, and they're still too close. So they need to moved again. This is endless summer, and my sweet peas. Another endless summer. That's where Molly back there had her nest, remember? And these little annuals, begonias, very disappointing. They were just one of those 6-packs and not great. They weren't anything patented, but look at my ginormous. If anyone knows the name of this hosta, it was not supposed to be this big. There's the equivalent there, and then same one over there. And look at this one. It just loves the shade. Oh, and the sedum that got attacked by the bunny is making a comeback. And I planted some forget-me-not seedlings right there in front of the I need to cut back these leaves of the bulbs, but look at the buds. Look at that. The buds of my lace cap hydrangea, twist and shout. Look at that. And I have been bringing all of our coffee grinds pretty much on a daily basis. Greg and I have been bringing it over. And there's my work area. This gets shade by about 2 o'clock. Just still picking up all of these little grad decorations. And I planted some alyssum from seed here, just broadcast them. And they're going to be blooming soon. Some leftover violas from seed that I have remaining, and I'm so thrilled that as long as I keep deadheading them, they're not getting leggy. Did I mention I want to get more of these? Yeah, I do. Need to. And this I planted indoors, and it got spider mites, so I had to bring it out here and spray it. It was almost halfway up. It's English ivy. And this is the replacement standard boxwood doing well. My favorite corner here. My geraniums from Barb's. Oh, gorgeous. And all from seed. My ruffled petunias and alyssum, and some Dusty Miller in the center. My little herbs. From seed, there's some dill and cilantro, and my violas in the second round of this color was not planned to go in here, but I'm not gonna, you know, take it for granted. I'm so thrilled. So yeah, if you just keep deadheading your violas, they will, and water them daily, they will come back. And there's a greenhouse with the crazy petunias going wild and the strawberries growing wild. It's really hot in there. And look at the sunflowers on the, that's all I have left there. Sunflowers and, oh, I have some daisies on the right. I'd be remiss if I don't show my sweet peas that I've been cutting on, watering them daily. Made a beautiful bouquet of the lavender ones in the back corner there for my mother-in-law's guest room, for her room. Love them. I use mostly this color, but look at these. Let's just take in this beautiful scent. They did get some of these little red, I don't know if these are aphids, I don't think so, tiny little bugs, and I just blow them off before bringing the bouquet inside, the stems inside. They've just been so fragrant. I think I've done at least 3 or 4 bouquets, little posies, loving them. So I am, as much as I regret it a little bit in early spring, I am going to continue to do sweet peas for sure in these containers. I just love it here. But there's my petunias, the wild violet from seed, doing well. My snapdragons from seed. These were rescued super bells from Lowe's clearance center over here. I think those are called egg whites or something, and then the purple ones are from and those are my Dustin Miller seeds. And I'm hoping I'm going to finally get these fresco hydrangeas blooming, because I'm worried that they won't overwinter. Fairy Trail Fresco from Proven Winners. I'm hoping that we get something blooming out of there. I don't know that I'll carry in these big pots or I'll put them in the landscape. We'll see. I'm really concerned about that. So I've been cooking with this, even though I planted this for this flora. I put that they're basil, but they're not. These are lemon. I got some chives there. This is sage. Lemon balm. There's a bee balm is what they are. And you can cook with them like the way you use thyme and other herbs. There's some salvia. And there's the other fresco. Let's take one last look. This video might end up being a little long. Look at that. Gorgeous. With the snapdragons in the background. Okay. So we're back from the tour and I took Eddie for a walk. I'm going to put together this very quick bouquet for the garden market in Sycamore. When I make a bouquet for at home, I usually just put I use my recipe of sugar and water. I've included that recipe before, but I do have a bunch of these Crisel floral food. It's a flower boost that I put into the jar. So I did cut all of my flowers last night, and these are some of the filler flowers. Here's the poppy that I think is going to bloom. This is the black swan. And you saw in the tour earlier that they were already blooming, and they were all shut last night. So, and these are some cosmos, and I have some sweet peas that are already a little wilted. So I might cut a few more. We'll see. I just add these little fillers in the end. I have some salvia, Blue Monday. These are Blue Monday salvia. But the focal are really going to be about the snapdragons. So let's build this. And I'll just put some music on with it. So to finish it off, yesterday I had some colorful raffia ribbons. I'm just going to use some of this twine. Since Barb's place is very rustic, I just, in keeping with that, let's decide what the center one. This one has is I'm debating on cutting that one off. I think I might. It's pretty spent. And the one below it, it just makes it look like it's not as fresh. And that one is fresher. Just opened this morning. There's one there. So I think this is the center. We've got some new buds of cosmos right here. You know, every time I do bouquets in Mass, like for my daughter's baby shower, we gave them out for prizes at her baby shower in Toronto, and I just bought flowers wholesale. I forgot about, because I had to do 10 bouquets, I think 10 mason jar bouquets. I forgot to photograph them. It's just what happens when you get busy trying to produce something. I tried to keep this to 7 main stems of snapdragons, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then a few fillers like the black swan poppy that will perk up, some bachelor's buttons, a couple sweet peas just for scent. There's one back here, and some salvia. There's one peeking up here. They're not very tall yet. And there's one back here. So it's really pretty. I'm almost debating if that's the front. And just switch it around like this is all you have to do. Oh, and if she wants to, the recipient wants to get my info, they don't want it on there permanently likely, so they'll just take it off and they'll have my info. And I just staple it. Onto something. There you go. It's just stapled on there. They can easily pop that out. They get my info, my Gmail account, my social info, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. We have our lilac snapdragons, Monaco orange, our light pink, our yellows, our bachelor's buttons, salvia, blue Monday, sweet peas, cosmos, and a really special little black swan poppy.